Hello and welcome to this very special election edition of Policy Beast. Today we'll be talking with Mark Larson. He's running for school committee. Without any further ado, welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Makita. It's a real pleasure to be here.
So let's dive right into it. Now, Mark, you previously served on school committee.
That's right. In 2013 was my first election.
Okay.
And I served for 2 years for school committee. And I had to resign my third year because of job change and life changes.
Okay. And now you're back and you want to serve on school committee again.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I loved the first 2 years. With the work schedule, I changed jobs. I started working for the United States Army, in the Army Corps of Engineers. And the first year in the Army is a lot of training and a lot of travel. And I didn't think it was fair for me not to be at meetings and serving on the school committee. So I resigned for the year. As much as I enjoyed it and much as I felt I was making a contribution, it made sense for me to resign for that 1 year, get acclimated to the new job, and now I have a stable position out in Uxbridge, Mass, and also in Concord, and I feel like I can be right back in the game and serving on school committee. So I'm looking forward to the election on the 17th.
Fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about some of your previous service on school committee and some of the issues that you worked on then. And what were some of the things that you worked on before you had to resign?
Yeah, the biggest, I would like to think the biggest accomplishment that I made while serving on school committee was the hiring of Jim Adams, our superintendent. He is head and shoulders above any superintendent that I've worked with before. I would put him on par with, I guess, Dr. Barry Ruthfield. I don't know if you know who Dr. Ruthfield.
I don't know if our viewership knows who.
He was a superintendent, a beloved superintendent for more than 20 years. And I think he served most recently 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yes.
So now you're back, and clearly you feel that you still have more to contribute to the town in this particular capacity. What are some of the issues that are concerning you right now? Why do you feel that you need to get back into school committee?
Makita, I want to protect the schools. I think the schools are at a real crossroad now. What I observed in 2013 and 2014 is for the previous 10 years, the schools had been making cuts to the program because of budget constraints. We fought very, very hard for the 2 years that I served to to replace some of those teachers, librarians, math teacher. And again, I think we're at a crossroads, right? We've done all the energy efficiency. We've put solar panels on the roof. We've put a lot of these energy efficiency programs in. We've cut program. We've done all those things. We can't do those things anymore if we want to protect our schools. And that's who I am, and that's what I do. I work for the Army Corps of Engineers, right? I have a passion for public service. I work on dams and levees. So when it rains, right, my job is to protect the communities along the Blackstone River so the river doesn't flood those communities. So I see myself in that role as somebody who protects. I served in the United States Air Force as an officer, protecting the nation, protecting those I love. So it comes very naturally for me to protect and to serve. And I think I can bring that to the school committee once again. Budget season is never an easy thing.
It is not.
No. And I've served through 2 budgets. And being a strong and loud advocate for the schools is a role that I'm very comfortable playing. And like I said, Makita, we're at a crossroads. And schools are either improving or declining. And schools require funding. And I want to see that the schools get what they need to continue.
So it'd be safe to say that you're supporting this override that's on the table right now.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. I've looked at the problem. We have a pie that's this big, and we have needs that are this big. So even if we do increase the size of the pie, we're still going to face challenges, but it's a start. It's a necessary choice I hope this community makes on the 17th to enlarge the pie. We're at that point, and I see
What's
that.
in peril, if, in your opinion, if this override is not passed? What happens to the quality of Ashland schools?
So it's a great question. If the override does not pass, we're the school committee, and one of the reasons I want to serve is if we have to make those hard decisions about what has to be cut, and things will need to be cut if the override doesn't pass, I want to be on the board. I want to make sure that we're not just cutting the arts. We're not just cutting athletics because that's what traditionally can be cut, right?
Sure.
Ashland has very good schools. We do the ABCs very well. What we don't have, Makita, is some of the other programs that other communities have. The multiple languages, some of the advanced mathematics, some of the advanced sciences, some of the music programs, some of the dance programs, some of the theater programs. These are all programs that not only educate our children, but give the children and our young adults the opportunities to build character outside their homes and their communities of faith. And so, core belief, right? The most important function that municipal government can give to a community is the education and the opportunity for character development for its children and for its young adults. That is a belief that I have. There's no greater function that municipal government can do.
Some would say, though, even though those are important things, and they may agree with you.
Sure, sure.
You know, obviously, folks say like, well, if we can't do those things, then we can't do those things because they're because of the costs involved and the fact that taxes could go up and force people out of their homes and force people out of the community. People who have been here for a long time may not be able to afford to continue to be here. What's your response?
So I have
to
a couple of answers for that, right?
Yeah.
We can get into the nuts and bolts of the override commission and some of the mitigation strategies they have for folks on fixed incomes. Senior folks of low income, and I would encourage you to get the information around those mitigating approaches that the override committee has put forward. But more importantly, when you look at communities that have strong schools, I would bet you'd find communities with lower crime rates, lower drug use, lower teen pregnancy. Those kind of things. Those to me are more important, the most important, right? Folks will give you the argument about property values and real estate values.
Yes.
Economic argument, and a valid one, and one I'm not trying to dismiss. Your schools, next to the proximity to Worcester and to public transportation, are probably one of the highest factors into a decision a family will make to move into the community. It's the quality of the schools. But I don't want those other items to be overlooked. Again, crime rates, drug use, and teen pregnancy.
The argument is that a stronger school system makes for a stronger overall community.
That's my argument.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it benefits, effectively, there are externalities that benefit all.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Everyone benefits.
Alrighty.
When the young people in that community are given not only opportunity to learn their ABCs, their mathematics, but also the opportunities to develop their character. Athletics, your adversity, right? Wins and losses.
Yep.
Learning the discipline of playing an instrument. I mean, those are the kind of things that I think are part of a robust school system. And those are things I don't want to see that what we have lost. And what we don't have, I see there's opportunity for more and improvement. Again, Makita, if your schools aren't improving and you're not funding your schools, they will decline. And that's a belief that I have.
So let's step away from explicitly talking about some of this override.
Oh, sure.
We're like, okay. And talk about
Let's
maybe.
talk about the mayor.
We could talk about maybe some of the other specific issues that you're concerned about, or things that you feel that you could make a contribution to being back on school committee.
You know, I won't say I have an axe to grind, because that's not right.
Okay.
But there are a couple of items that I observed in my 2 years, and some questions that I have.
Like
Right.
what?
So there's an attitude, especially that I see during budget season, about the role of the school department. The school district, as I like to call it, but it is referred to as a school department in our charter, is not like the police department. It's not like the fire department. It's different in several ways. Is one, we're not beholden to the Board of Selectmen or the town manager. And there's some thinking out there that we are somehow beholden to them. We are our own board, the school committee. We approve a budget that's $28 million, I believe, what we're moving forward in fiscal year 2017. And we have our own charter, we have our own existence derived from the state that's independent of the Board of Selectmen. And that's an attitude, but when you go into budget meetings, it's like, hey, do it, you work for us. You're a department just like any other department. And we're not. We're not. We have our own board. The state set it up this way for the municipal government to have its town manager and its Board of Selectmen, and for the schools to have its superintendent and its school committee. And if we don't come to an agreement on budgets, the school committee can take our budget to the town meeting floor and have it voted on as a separate item from the other budget if we all don't agree. Now, that hasn't happened, and I'm not saying it will happen. Mm-hmm. I think I heard at town meeting from the chair of the finance committee that there has been some kind of split agreement, and I'll look into that moving forward when it comes to budget season to remove some of the conflict, I suppose.
Okay.
I want to see the schools funded. Someone else want to see some other aspect of the municipal government funded. There's a natural tension, right?
Right.
The pie is just so big, right? So changing that attitude or that perception, and I had to change my perspective. When I first started on the school committee, I was just like, oh, well, when we come forward with our budget, I hope the selectmen approve it. That's not the case. Okay. That's not the case at all. The other thing, and while we're on the subject of things we could possibly change, mm-hmm. is when I look at the finance committee, they're not elected. They're appointed folks. It's part of our charter. They're appointed by the town moderator. Town moderator serves for 1 year, and we've been very fortunate that Adam Schuster has been our town moderator consistently for years. But he makes an appointment to the finance committee, and the finance committee has a tenure longer than 1 year. I see a real possibility for lack of accountability. So if I get elected to school committee, I'm accountable to the people every 3 years. Mm-hmm. Same with the Board of Selectmen. Mm-hmm. There's not that same accountability for the finance committee. And at times, particularly during budget season, they're on the same stature as Board of Selectmen and school committee. I just never understood that. And I understand it's somehow related to our charter, but I've never gotten a good answer on why they have that, why an appointed body has equal status to an elected body, one that's directly accountable to the people. So those are two issues. Those are rather complex, mundane, governing issues.
Sure.
My background is public administration, mm-hmm. computer science, and information assurance. So I tend to look at systems and tend to get into policy sure. and government structure. But those are two functional issues that I observed, and if elected and get to go back, would like to communicate in a broader way and challenge folks.
What would your overall vision for Ashland Public Schools be? I think maybe like 3 or 4 years from now, like if you could turn back and say, like, goodness gracious, I was lucky enough to be elected to school committee again, and we got X, Y, Z accomplished. What would those things be, and how would the schools be perceived by the community and by the Commonwealth at large?
Yeah, right. What's wonderful when you ask me that question, right? I'm a member of school committee. I'm not the superintendent, right? We hire and pay a superintendent to have that vision and those goals. Mm-hmm. The way I see my role is school committee member has three primary functions. Mm-hmm. To hire the superintendent,
right,
to approve budgets,
yep,
and to set policy.
Right.
So within that very limited role, what we bring is Ashland representation. Ashland residents is our values as we see them. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep.
There's 5 of us on that board.
Right.
We all don't think the same way. Our superintendent takes those 5 different perspectives, mm-hmm, listens to them, and says, hey, this is what I hear, this is what I see on the school side, this is our vision. So I really count on the superintendent and expect him to have that vision for us. And then we look at that and say, okay, all right, Jim, that is the right direction. We help him steer, but he's the captain of the ship. So I would love to have you ask that question to Jim Adams.
Oh. And our remaining few minutes, Mark.
Yes, ma'am.
Because we are running a little short on time, I do want to ask you the question that I've been asking all of our candidates for office, in that why should people vote for you? Why should people get out on May 17th and vote for Mark Larson to get back on school committee?
If you want a strong, loud advocate for the schools, someone who is going to protect the schools, someone who will see the schools as either improving, or if they're not improving, then how do we get them to improve in a pie that's limited? And that's making the assumption that the override does not pass. How do we keep the schools strong? How do we keep the schools improving? What's interesting is when schools are declining, you don't know it until it's already on the downward trend. Right. When schools are improving, you don't really know it, until maybe a few years later. Right. I think we're in that place right now. We can go either way. So if you want the schools to continue in an upward trajectory, then vote for Mark Larson on May 17th.
Mark, thank you so much for appearing on Policy Beast, and thank you for tuning in and watching our special election coverage. Please make sure to watch the rest of the interviews with other candidates, and remember to get out and vote on May 17th. Mark, thanks again.
Thank you, Makita.
And thank you for watching. We'd love to hear from you here at Policy Beast, and there are a lot of ways to get in touch with us. You can follow us on Twitter at PolicyBeastTV. We have a Facebook fan page. Look us up on Facebook. You can also email us at policybeasttv@gmail.com.